Hey, 2.4 is coming up really soon. Let's talk about Shenhe, the 5-star Cryo Polearm Support. Do note that our information is based on leaks, and changes could happen when the patch goes live, but we already know that Shenhe is capable of being a cryo damage buff character or a cryo sub DPS. Her Ascension stat is 28.8% attack, and keep in mind that this Ascension stat has something to do with her skills and buff, which relies on the attack stat. Shenhe's normal attack animations look very elegant, however the ratios fall slightly lower in comparison to Rosaria, and definitely cannot compete with other 5-star polearm wielding Hu Tao and Xiao, so she's not really capable of being a normal attacking main DPS, most likely not even Chongyun's elemental skill or the Electro Cryo Superconduct could save her. But if you have enough love for her, feel free to go build a carry Shenhe. Nobody can or should stop you from building your ideal waifu or husbando. Now, let's look at her elemental skill, Spring Spirit Summoning. Her elemental skill has two variations. On click, a cryo damage dash with a 10-second cooldown, and on hold, summons her Talisman Spirit to do AoE cryo damage with a 15-second cooldown. Both variants give a unique buff to your team, called Icy Quill. So, what does Icy Quill do? Whenever a character with the buff does cryo damage with their normal attack, charge attack, plunge, elemental skill, or elemental burst, the increased damage dealt is based on Shenhe's current attack damage, meaning that Shenhe as a support does not need to care about her own cryo damage, crit rate, or crit damage at all. You could just simply stack attack on her and power up her Icy Quill buff. To put it simple, Icy Quill directly buffs your cryo carry's damage ratio while being calculated off your cryo carry's crit damage, cryo damage, weapon buffs, and so on. The buff itself is strong, but it is not busted. It has its own limitations as well. Her elemental skill on click only gives you the buff trigger quota 5 times and on hold for 7 times. For example, if you hold Shenhe's elemental skill, you get 7 buff trigger quota, and you use your Ganyu, charge shot 5 Hilichurls, which you manage to hit all 5 of them at once, poor Hilichurls, and then it would straightaway consume 5 out of 7. But the good thing is that the buff is individually counted for each member in the party, until the duration ends of course. Next up, her elemental burst, Divine Maiden's Deliverance. Very straightforward skill with a very attractive debuff. Summons a Talisman Spirit which continuously does cryo damage with 3 attacks every 2 seconds and creates a field which lowers enemies' cryo and physical resistance. The skill's duration is 12 seconds with a 20-second cooldown which requires 80 energy. That's all. For Shenhe's passive talents, first talent increases her Liu exploration reward. Second talent grants the active character standing in Shenhe's elemental burst field a 10% cryo damage increase. Her third passive talent is an additional buff. Using Spirit Spring Summoning on click buffs party members' elemental skill and elemental burst damage dealt by 15% with a 10-second duration. Spirit Spring Summoning on hold buffs normal attack, charge attack, plunge damage dealt by 15% for a 15-second duration. A quick look on Shenhe's Constellations. C1 gives her 1 more charge on her elemental skill. C2 increases her elemental burst duration by 6 seconds, while characters in the field gain 15% increase in cryo crit damage. C3 increases her elemental skill level by 3. C4 is pretty crucial if you want to have more damage on Shenhe. However, there is a catch which I will be talking about in a short while. With C4, characters who are under the buff of Icy Quill and trigger its effects give Shenhe herself a Skyfrost Mantra stack, which is stackable up to 50 with a 60-second duration before it expires. The stacks are consumed when she casts her elemental skill, Spring Spirit Summoning, which increases 5% per stack consumed if you have 50 stacks. It is a 250% increase. However, her base ratio are not overwhelmingly high, so we'll really have to wait till she's live to see the numbers roll in. C5 increases her elemental burst by 3, however the 15% debuff caps at level 10. C6 is what makes the C4 Skyfrost mantra stacks make sense. When a character triggers Icy Quill's effects using normal and charged attack damage, it does not count towards the trigger quota. I can see how Ayaka and Ganyu's charge attacks would synergize well here. On the other hand, if we want to talk about Shenhe being a main cryo carry, Chongyun might just be able to make the cryo carry dream come true with Shenhe C6. Sounds pretty cool, right? Here are two ways to play Shenhe as a support. The first way is to stack attack on artifacts and weapons to maximize the effect of the elemental skill Icy Quill buff. According to leaks, Shenhe's signature weapon Calamity Queller is a huge attack stat boost. The second way is to bump up her energy recharge while retaining a certain amount of attack stat. Doing so, the elemental skill may have a weaker buff while you get more debuff consistency on the elemental burst, which would be available for your party members more often. Don't forget that Shenhe's elemental burst decreases the opponent's cryo and physical resistance by 15% while giving off a 10% cryo element buff, which is pretty sweet to have in a cryo-based composition. Know that Shenhe is mainly a buff-debuff cryo support character with low base damage ratios might not look too tempting to everyone. She's not super outstanding like most of the 5-star polearm characters we already have, but her overall kit truly shines when she is in a team composition that is built around a cryo main carry. From my point of view, she would be an excellent cryo support for Ayaka and Ganyu if you're looking to bump up those icy cryo numbers. If you're looking for a support to amplify your cryo carries, or you just love her overall design and vibe, then Shenhe is for you. Before you leave, please share this video with your friends who you think might want Shenhe in their party. Drop me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed my content, and come hang out with me on Twitch. I'm Eddie and Waffles, that's all for now, take care!